got it back up and running. And then late last night, he texted me. He's like, nope, down again. Yeah. It's got to be
hardware.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So.
Hey, it's Phil Ratcliffe with Rebel Financial, and thanks for joining us for our live broadcast. Today we've got Ryan Srbljan from Yellow Lab Partners. They do business consulting and really on the technology side, and something that I love personally. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. So Ryan, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into business consulting, and how it came around to starting Yellow Lab Partners.
Sure. So I had a really fortunate early career where I got to work with some really great entrepreneurs, all of them having a little bit of a different take on the way businesses should be run. The first one was kind of a guts and grit, go with what you know mentality. I had one that was a CPA by trade, a financial backer, ran an organization purely off finance, and then another individual that was extremely creative. So he wasn't had no process.
Different manager.
Absolutely, right? So when I was a director of business development for a lot of years, spent a significant portion of my early career helping grow businesses as a whole. But my background is in computer science, computer technology.
Gotcha.
So I was always kind of leaning on my analytical skills, software, and technology to see how much further can you push kind of those engagements and those interactions.
Yeah.
So when I came out on the market and was kind of looking for my next opportunity, I had a lot of conversations with some great businesses, and I realized I didn't necessarily want to help just one. I wanted to see if I could help more than one.
Sure.
And so I took on a couple of small projects.
And you get some variety too. It doesn't get stale,
absolutely. Right? And I think there's some of these things have kind of a natural in life anyway. You get these systems in place, you get them operating, and maybe for a smaller business, it's not healthy to maintain a higher salary once the system is in place, right?
And that's refreshing because I feel like a lot of consulting companies or even like marketing companies, they're like trying to sell you to pay them a certain amount of your sales and marketing budget indefinitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, it's that stickiness that you feel so much from consultants. And I think we started there, right? We started as a traditional consulting agency, and we're looking for long-term retainer-style contracts. And for me, the way that Yellow Lab kind of came to be was I realized I didn't want to be part of a subtractive process. And that's how consulting felt for me, was going into businesses when they were in their time of need and asking them for the most important thing to their world, which was the money they didn't necessarily have.
Sure. It is the catch-22.
Yeah, it is. So we wanted to try and give back. So we've restructured Yellow Lab a couple of different times. But our big move was to go to a company that offered not just the ability to put these structures in place, but if we put them in place and they stick and you're doing well, we have successfully worked ourselves out of a job. We're really happy with that. Right?
That's awesome. I mean, I think about, like, if you have enough people that you do like that, I mean, with how technology and things continue to change, if you did a good job, these people will probably eventually come back because it's going to need to refresh and update. And so you might have to have a bigger client base than you would, but hopefully it's a lot more symbiotic. And that probably up your referrals as well, too, so that...
There's a massive number of businesses that need the help that we provide. So for us to latch onto one and try and continue to bill and invoice them over a course of time, there's a lot of work to be had out there. We'd rather do a really good job for a lot of people than do a great job and then be subtractive to a business.
Sure. So I was going to ask you what makes you different, but it sounds like that is pretty much one of the biggest things, is the fact that you're trying to build something good enough to where it can run itself eventually. And then secondly, with your technical background, you are a little bit more familiar with implementing some of the technologies and software. Because I feel like a lot of consultants, when they say like they're going to help people with their marketing or lead generation or sales, they just want to do social media and pay-per-click, and like that's it.
Yeah, it's a Google AdWords strategy, Google My Place strategy, and then we're going to do some Instagram and Facebook for you, right? No, I think it has to be outbound. It's got to be a process that is active. It's not a passive process.
Sure.
And then the other piece is, can we educate our clients to be able to run and maintain those processes on their own?
Yeah.
If there are pieces that they're either not qualified or not interested in running, can we automate them? Right. Yeah. And if we can't, then that's when we step into our outsourced sales and outsourced marketing division, where we will do it for customers.
That is your ongoing, but you said you limit that to only 5.
We do, and we're capped at it right now. So we decided actually earlier this year that in order for us to provide the concierge level service that we want for our customers, we are only going to work with 5 customers on an outsourced.
And for them, it's still good because they didn't have to hire 1 or 2 full-time marketing people, and so it's probably beneficial for both parties.
It is. I think sales can be a disruptive process for businesses too. If you've got a company that's, maybe it's sole proprietor or a mom and pop style shop, that they have grown their business off good work, reputation, hard ethics, right? To decide that they're going to hire a salesperson and come in, that if it's a commission-based structure, I think almost every business owner,
especially for like an attorney or like a physician, where they're like, "Well, I don't do sales; it's unethical."
Exactly.
And it's just like, but you need to grow, so they can outsource.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and to some degree, it's we can take the chaos that can be part of the sales process out of the walls. So we're only going to turn over qualified leads, good referrals, so they can focus on helping those customers rather than listening to the salesperson that came back from a great cup of coffee about how wonderful the conversation was. A business owner's question is, did they sign a contract? Are we going to start doing work? When are we going to start billing?
The tangibility.
Exactly. And that can take the legs out from a salesperson sometimes, right? So Yellow Lab, we try and create a shelter for salespeople to do the sales process cleanly without it disrupting the business as a whole.
So I see when, just reading through your website, I think one of the key terms that you use is creating business development pipelines. So what does that mean, practically?
Sure. So a pipeline is actually really simple. It's just the lead process from start to the point of a contract execution or the exchange of revenue, right? And it isn't in there because once you have a client, you need to cultivate that relationship, right? There's a really great sales training that I went through years ago, and the thing that stuck with me most out of it is there's a relationship line and kind of a task tension line, right? And where the intersection of those 2 lines hit, that's the point when business starts, right? So if a customer calls you and they're frantic, they need help, they need to get something done, their task tension is very high. So even if the relationship tension is also very high, so you have no relationship with them, they're going to be willing to work with you because they have something they need to get done, right? It's kind of the hair on fire client that we all get the phone call from. The flip side to that is the client that you may want may have a system that's working just fine. They've got vendors they're happy with, they have a process that works for them. So in order to get that customer to onboard with you, you've got to work on relationship and get that relationship tension down until, again, those 2 points intersect. So we work both of those, right? One, we're always out in the market, we're listening, we're hearing, we're understanding what's going on in a climate. So if we hear, right now, the medical vertical is very, very hot. They're growing very quickly, right? So for our clients that are trying to get into that marketing vertical, those are very worthwhile calls. The flip side is we can't forsake the other customers that they want that may be in very long-term relationship with their client. We need to start working on that relationship tension piece with those other potential candidates. So we're going to start working multiple pipelines, and again, it all comes down to relationship at the end, right? So we're going to start cultivating honest relationships with potential customers for our clients.
And if you are at a business that's at this point in your life cycle, then some people that are really small businesses will be like, well, I can't handle more clients.
Right.
Well, if you're bigger to where you're doing this marketing stuff and trying to cultivate more leads, you probably have multiple people working for you. So if your business expands, you can hire more people to service these new leads, right?
So, and it comes back to why we only take on 5 customers, right? So we pre-qualify those customers and make sure that they've got a growth mindset that fits what we're about to do for them.
And they can handle if you deliver the flow.
Because we found early on, we would do a great job. We would bring 20, 30, 40% extra revenue in the first 30 to 60 days for somebody through our process, right? And then we go, hold on, next month, we can't do any sales because I got to catch up. Well, from Yellow Lab's perspective, we just got fired for doing an exceptional job, right? So what we realized was, in order to prevent kind of this stop-start mentality for these businesses, we need to do a better job qualifying our relationships and making sure that the customers that we're willing to do these outsourced sales pieces
had the business operational back structure to be able to handle it.
And that, again, that rolls back to the consulting work that I do. That infrastructure piece is something that's near and dear to my heart. So it lets me get those tools and parts and pieces in place to make sure that we're cultivating those clients that we onboard.
So tell us about some of the available marketing and automation tools. I mean, I like these things. I know me and you have talked, and you're just like, I love doing this stuff, and most people don't know what's available. So tell us about some of them.
So, I mean, everyone's heard the term CRM, client relationship management tools. Most people at this point have heard of Salesforce, as they're kind of like the big monster in the industry. Many people have heard of HubSpot. There's Zoho. Just search CRM. And you'll find a lot of them. Like FreshBooks on the accounting side has a built-in CRM tool that works with it. I think the end answer is, regardless of which one of these tools you choose, you have to adopt it and use it. Yes. And that's the number one thing that we see on a failure point.
Stop using Outlook as your
absolutely
CRM, right?
That's exactly right. Like
it's a good email program, but it is not taking care of all your clients. Right?
Your Outlook folders are not a CRM tool. It doesn't tell you the last time you talked to them. There's not any like actual record keeping or score qualifying for how you're communicating. So we tend to start, depending on size of business, we're going to start with something like Hubspot, which is a much larger tool than it used to be. It used to be only a marketing platform. They have an amazing free CRM now.
So Eileen, let's share the screen real fast just so people can see. Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So HubSpot, I think one of the misnomers here is people are going to jump into some of these and say, I'm not a large enough business to need a tool like HubSpot or Salesforce, right? When I started Yellow Lab Partners, and it was
just free to start on this CRM.
Yeah, the CRM is 100% free. Go sign up for it. Spend like 20 minutes surfing through it. I promise you somebody from HubSpot Corporate is going to send you an email as soon as you download it. But there's great tools for free on the market for you to be able to communicate and organize your customer data. Now, you can grow into these too. So we always start with a HubSpot free platform for any of our outsourced sales clients. So it's the way we communicate with our end consumer. They can see how many calls were made, how many emails were sent, what the response rate was, right? So this is our platform to be able to communicate back. Larger institutions, somebody that's got maybe more specific automation needs or needs a little bit more of a sandbox environment, then we would step up to something like Salesforce. It's not necessarily better, it's just different, right? Salesforce offers nothing for free, so there is no like free environment, but it is a more powerful platform and it has much better third-party integration. So if you have, let's say, you're in logistics and you have a back-end inventory system that you want to be able to automate a workflow with an inventory system, Salesforce would probably be a better choice for you, just off the hip. So its automation functionality is a little bit stronger.
You can have some money to spend to do that.
Yeah, you do. And again, like from our world, I even though I have a software background, I never want to be a developer, right?
Sure.
So we work with a couple of third parties to actually do our development, and depending on your needs, we're going to pick a developer that matches the scale that you're trying to go through. But all of them offer really, really good integration with analytics to give you like quantifiable data about what's going on within your sales. And we don't want to weaponize it in the sense of verifying that people aren't doing what they need to do, right?
Sure.
Like a lot of times we have business owners that approach and say, I want to see this because I don't think they're making the calls, right? And that's
weaponize it.
Yeah, I get it. But we need to create an environment that people want to work in and that they see a benefit to using it. It has to make your world easier. If you send an email and then have to go into a CRM and register that you sent an email, you're never going to do that.
Yeah.
You have to be able to send the email from the CRM and have it just automatically do the tracking.
And log.
It's got to be native. Yeah, you've got to be able to work in the environment.
So let's give them just like a quick example. I'll tell you like how we use one. So like if we have a lead capture thing on our website and people fill it out, then it'll automatically go into our Zapier, which can connect to Salesforce and our email and whatever. And then it goes from there, and then it will go into our email list, send them a follow-up video email, and then possible follow-up emails, plus create the lead in our Salesforce. And all of this was done by the client pushing submit.
That's
Nobody did anything else.
That's exactly right.
And so, like, this is the stuff that you help people do. And I don't think a lot of small business owners even understand that this stuff could happen for a small company. They're like, well, these big companies have lots of engineers, and they can build stuff like that, right?
And Zapier, the Zaps within Zapier are always evolving. So, and that's a great example is it should be automated. Right?
Yes.
These tools do not require a professional developer on staff to put together. And that, again, rolls all the way back to the initial conversation of a lot of the consulting work that we do needs to be project-based. It shouldn't be ongoing. Now, we can come back to it and take a look and see what were the results and then modify the process, but it should be a very clear, concise, understandable process on the way that these leads flow into your business. We should get reporting back on what was and wasn't successful, and we push what's successful and we modify what wasn't. And that's how you can move these things.
So there's accountability, and you have the data. You can see that it's actually working and provides value.
Right. Yeah, and get your salespeople working on cultivated leads that are coming in, not having them cultivate leads. That's the big difference.
Or if you're a really smaller company and say you're an owner or operations person and you're the salesperson, then it's going to free up time from the operations that you can actually spend on relationships, which
absolutely
is what's going to drive revenue, right?
You should get hours back in your day. I mean, that's kind of the mark of a successful implementation of something like this. Is it's not It's not the business owner that finishes their day at 7 o'clock and then needs to go do their QuickBooks work and get caught up, right? This is I could start my QuickBooks work at 3:30 in the afternoon so I can leave at 5 or 5:30 and go home and have dinner with my family. And that's the reward that I wanted with Yellow Lab Partners, was to give entrepreneurs and business owners back time in their day while still seeing a ramp up in their business.
Yeah.
There shouldn't have to be, with the technology that's out there, this idea that, well, if I want to work less, then I need to make less. Well, your business can still thrive and succeed by having these automation tools in place.
So one of the things we're going to talk about is, obviously this is not just for bigger businesses. So at what point in a small business's life cycle should they think about, implementing some of these tools?
Day one.
Yeah,
I say day one. A lot of the first customers that I kind of had within Yellow Lab Partners were people that had really thriving side hustles, right? It's that individual, right? It's the, by day I do X, Y, and Z, but by night I come home and I want to do this. I build this widget. I build this in my garage. I do this design work. I love doing this type of thing. How do I get it to evolve? How do I make this my full-time job?
Yes.
You start by tracking what you're doing and who you're doing it for, and then perpetuating that cycle. And that starts with a free platform like HubSpot. From day one, I want people to have good customer information. The question that I ask everybody is, and this is a great reference point to know whether or not somebody needs these tools, is, can you in the next 3 minutes tell me which client you haven't talked to in the longest period of time? And if
3 minutes is a long time too.
right. But you'll get, they jump in their email, they sort by last contacted, they go through Outlook, they're in QuickBooks trying to see when the oldest invoice was, right? Yeah. And the reality is, with any one of these CRM tools, you can just simply go to your client list and sort by date last contacted.
Yeah.
And that's the way that we're going to start, is by going to that and saying, who have we done work with that we haven't done work with lately, and let's cultivate our relationship and figure out why we're not talking to them. And those are the low-hanging fruit things that people just go, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Where you just got to get to it.
Yeah.
So how do we give you some freedoms in your day to be able to make those calls?
So for smaller businesses, I imagine one of the biggest things that holds them back is they're in that constant struggle sometimes for survival. Like you said, they need the revenue.
Right.
To keep growing and getting better, and a lot of times to pay themselves and take care of their families. And they're like, well, how much is this going to cost me? So, for a smaller business like that, how can they get started in a way that they can afford it? And then what kind of investment would that look like? And then maybe it's something that escalates if it works and it's paying them and they see the return. Maybe outline that a little bit.
So most of these tools are scalable. So we'll look at HubSpot and Salesforce because they're kind of your two big providers in the market, right? So you get into the CRM free with HubSpot. You spend 2-3 months in it. You find that it's doing good things for your business, and you want to start to push marketing. You can then go to their marketing module, and it's going to cost per month. So if you want to go full tilt with them with Marketing Professional, full professional sales tools, multiple pipelines, it's about $800 a month, which is, it's a bite, right? That's a chunk for any size business. Something like Salesforce is going to start around $125 a month per user for kind of a basic level. And then if you add Pardot, add some of these other tools, again, you can wind up $1,100, $1,200, $1,500 a month for those. So you've got to pick and choose what you're actually going to functionally work in.
And what you're going to get a return on. And what you're willing to, I wouldn't say gamble, because I feel for most people it would pay off, but what you're going to outlay,
right? And
to see that you're going to get that return, right?
For sure. And we were talking about it before. There are other smaller providers out there. There's other groups, none of them better or worse than others. But find one that will work on the terms that you want. You and I just looked at a platform, and it's month to month, no subscription, right?
And you said like the Zoho. In our industry, we have one called Redtail, which caters just to financial advisors, and they do a great job, and they're super affordable. Alternatives to Salesforce. And I had to say, unless somebody's going to hire someone like you as an in-house engineer or is really a nerd, Salesforce is probably not for you. And so you're going to need something like, HubSpot or Redtail or someone that has built it out more for you. Sure.
And Redtail has a great, Redtail is Redtail. So Redtail doesn't work with third-party consultants. They don't work with third-party developers. They have their own process.
But it's so low. It's not like you can't be involved.
Absolutely. Right? So, and that's a lot of times, there's another financial provider that we did a financial services cloud implementation for. They were looking at HubSpot, Salesforce FSC, which is the financial services cloud, and Redtail. And at the end of the day, they chose to go with Salesforce FSC in their particular instance. Part of the reason was they wanted to start small. So Redtail wanted to jump them straight into
like even enterprise.
Not so much that, but it was the implementation was a much longer process than they were willing to take on right now. So we were able to get a piece installed with Salesforce, get just their client data management taken care of, and then we can do an integration to their back-end financial piece and those types of things. So where, again, I hope my strength, where I provide value, is I'm neutral. I'm Sweden when it comes to CRM tools. I want to make sure that it's a platform that works for our end customer. We are HubSpot certified. We're Salesforce certified. We've gone through all those courses to make sure that we understand the platforms. But at the end of the day, I have no skin in the game what platform you choose. I just want to make sure it's right and provide.
So when you're consulting, you could probably go as small to almost as large as you want. From like somebody could simply just say, "Here's our thing. Tell us which CRM to select and stuff," and you could tell them that. It'd be really low cost.
That's exactly right.
But if you're just like, do you want us to build out the integration from HubSpot to your Salesforce to your MailChimp to your Zapier, then that would be a more involved consulting project. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have again, one of those 5 customers that we keep we play close to the chest with. They have us run their entire sales cycle, and we also take care of their entire production pipeline, right? So we hand them finished contracts and then communicate back with the customers for them on what timelines are for production.
Wow.
So that's huge, right?
Yeah.
We have another customer that's one of those 5.
So you're almost doing customer service for them, too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We want to own the customer experience as a whole.
Yeah.
If that's what the business needs to succeed, that's why I only maintain 5 of these.
So if it's a company of architects or engineers, it's like perfect for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. if they don't want the day-to-day customer interaction, like what it takes to cultivate a relationship, we're really good at that.
Yeah, they just want to build good widgets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, we have another client that legitimately we came in, we worked on process workflow with them, and technology was not an option. We'll put it that way, right? For their particular institution, there was not going to be an option to put in a digital workflow for everybody in the business. It was as simple as a whiteboard system with calendars and then a process flow. Same thing that we do digitally, but a little bit more analog for an older business.
They weren't going to do it.
They're not going to do it.
If you can't get adoption, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And I would rather put a process like that in place and know that the customer experience gets better and their business is going to grow, rather than try and shove a digital system in front of them that it's not going to be adopted.
Absolutely. Everything's got to be practical.
Absolutely.
Right? So before we leave everybody, is there any kind of words of wisdom you would give everybody, or one last good piece of information?
I would tell you, if you're looking for a consultant, if your business is either needing to grow or you've got some obstacle that you're wanting to overcome, and you're looking for third-party help, whether that be with a firm like mine, or you're just out in the market trying to look for referrals, I would suggest that you start with a cup of coffee and a very honest conversation with whoever the proprietor is behind that consulting firm.
Yeah.
In my world, I'm the only one that does the consulting work. And I don't want to hire people to do consulting because it is a very personal piece. It's what's kind of between my ears and my thought process. And only so much of that can be done. So what I would tell you is make sure that the relationship is solid and that there's good faith between the two individuals, and that you've got somebody that's giving you the truth backed by data, as opposed to answers that maybe confirm something that you feel is true, even if it's not. So a consultant's job is not necessarily always to give you warm fuzzies.
Sure.
Our job is to make sure we give you practical answers. And
if you had all the answers, you wouldn't need to consult, right?
Consultant, right? That's exactly right. And look for somebody that's in it to provide you a return on investment for their time, not somebody that's attractive. And that's the number one thing. And the way that we're structured is we want to make sure we're always providing a return, that we're not. It's
one of the things that kind of gets my goat on people that want to do like pay-per-click stuff, or it's just like, all right, why don't I pay you a % of the extra stuff that you, and they'll never ever do it.
Nope, they won't.
They
will not.
And so to me, it's just a humongous red flag.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so interesting. So I have talked to lots of people before, and I love talking to Ryan, and like we could talk about the same stuff and like what we've built, and he knows what I'm talking about, and he's given me a couple good ideas. So definitely Phil endorsed with the knowledge, and I very much like the philosophy of being symbiotic and building something to where they won't need you again, at least for this. But hopefully, if you did a good job, the business world is fluid and it's going to continue to change. I don't think that you'll ever put yourself totally out of a job.
That'd be the hope, right? That's the hope.
Well, thanks so much for being in.
Absolutely.
This is a super important subject. If you're not doing anything to kind of automate some things, make your clients have a better experience, people that are interested in your products, you have no idea why or where they came from, then this is something you need to explore for sure. So thank you guys for joining in. I hope you guys are having a super finish of the week. Join us next week. Next week, we're going to do a financial planning case study, and it's going to be something that we actually run into a lot, even though you wouldn't think about it, because you think about it, you come to a financial planner and you build a plan, and we're just helping people maximize money. But a lot of times, if we can create efficiencies, that helps to increase their quality of life, to be able to retire earlier or travel more or help kids out or a charity. And so financial planning is much more than just having more money. It's about accomplishing your goals in efficient ways that a lot of times can make your life better. So it'll be a good one. Again, have a great weekend, and thanks for tuning in. Clients are or not?
I mean,